Hey, hey, hey! Good evening, Ed.
Good evening.
How are you, my man? How are you?
Good, apart from I can hear myself.
My mistake. That should be it now, and good evening to the draw room. Elizabeth, Julie, Mark Andrew Chapman, Nick Daridas, Indy, Amy and Amy and Dystopus, Amy for Kentucky, Ray, Militant Mushroom, Brit Mate. Who else we got? Is that it? Is that Echo? Britmate says Echo. But yeah, what's done? And so tonight I am starting the evening off with a porn star martini or two, and we'll see where it goes from there. First drink of the evening. Cheers.
Cheers. Well, I'm on the wine, although I did start my evening with some gin and tonics.
Oh, and the troll room's getting into you already, Ed. Ed has that awful shirt on. That's shocking. Sure, there's nothing wrong with these shirts. Perfectly respectable.
I'm sorry, Amy. I like you, but pound sand.
Right. Where shall we start? Where shall we start today? Bloody hell. Where shall we? I'll tell you where we'll start. Let's have 10-second silence for the death. For the death of TNT. This is their last day broadcasting.
Why?
Well, I think they ran out of money, mate.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of lost interest in TNT when they treated Giant Warfare like a piece of shit on live on Twitch.
I think it kind of was a downfall because after that, quite a few folk left, didn't they? Natalie left, Sonia left, Abby left. Yeah, the what's his name? The guy that's gone walking all over Britain with a bad back. Darren, he left as well.
Yeah, Darren of Plymouth, who lives in a tent, gave up all his worldly possessions. Bless him.
I know. Tell you what, mate. You know, camping's
a nice guy. He interviewed me once.
Camping's all right. Camping's all right for 1 or 2 days, but
I'm not a camping person.
No,
I'm afraid if we're talking about what Americans refer to as camping, which is going in this luxury Winnebago that is bigger than my flat. And I remember once in the US, it was a friend's party, and the grandfather turns up in this gigantic Winnebago, and literally it puts these stands down. He presses a button and half of the thing expands out to double the size of this thing, and it was literally bigger than my flat.
Yep. Was that like an episode of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation or something?
No, not quite. Although it was actually my first time in America, so it was kind of it's culture shock.
Yeah, America's what it's strange. Yeah,
it's so bloody big. Everything's big. The roads, the cars, the people, the shops, the everything.
Yeah. The sky is bigger. The sky is definitely bigger.
Yeah, they put plates of food. You go to a diner and you get a plate of food that's literally enough for about 5 people.
Yeah, see, and this is where, whoa, have we had somebody drop something on coffee already? Thank you, elusive. I don't know why is it not coming through? But thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Probably they might not be on the live.
You've got to make sure you're right up at live for it to come through. But hey, love it. No horn sound, I know. We did get one last night, didn't we? A horn sound. But, yeah, we did. We did, because I did a test and then someone dropped us something after that and the horn came through again. What are we talking about, says the unmediated mind? Well, to bring you up to speed, the channel has been demonetized, so don't get any ad revenue anymore. Not that I got a lot to start with. So, and not only that, when they demonetize you, they take not only the money that you've earned this month, but they take last month's money that they haven't paid out yet, and then just deduct that from your account. So I'm 215 quid down or something. Well, I was until last night, and now I'm over half of it back, which is fantastic. So that's what happened on Mediated Me. Pardon me, mind. And just to give you a taster, of what should happen with Kofi is, and maybe I don't understand why it's not doing it, because it did it fine when we tested it, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Buttons and widgets. So when
you seem to establish last night that the user donating the money has to be on their live button on YouTube has to be lit up.
Yeah, I think make sure that you're bang up to date. If anyone else is going to drop money, and I'm not suggesting you should, but anyway, if anyone else drops money, if you want the thing to work, make sure that you are live. I'm going to send a test. This is a test. And for Amy's benefit, I don't have any input as to what it's going to say, right?
From someone, Kofi rhymes with no fee 3.
There you go. And Kofi does rhyme with no fee because they don't take a fee, which is substantially better than YouTube, who take 70%. No, sorry. If we were on YouTube and you dropped me a super chat, YouTube would take 30% of that.
Just money grubbing censorious bastards.
Indeed they are. But hey, anyway, let's crack on with what's happening in the world. So now, that's Johnny Vedmore out of job, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel sorry for Johnny because he needs the income, and he thought it was just going to be a nice regular, and he does a good show. I mean, Johnny is. I mean, it might be. I know him, so if you wanted, we could maybe talk about getting him on the show.
I've had Johnny on the show before, but I was actually wondering if I should reach out to him and see if he wants to team up with us.
Might as well.
Yeah,
can't do any harm.
Yeah, you don't pay US tax if you're in the UK on YouTube. Call me Mark. As long as you fill out the correct forms, which Ben did for his channel. So he was paid like 35% tax. But as long as you fill the forms out correctly, you don't pay tax. I think he's fixed it now though. But yeah. Right. So where are we? So we'll maybe reach out to Johnny and see if he wants to come and speak to us. That would be quite cool. Because I mean, TNT kind of cleaned them up a bit, didn't they? Do you think they sent a team round, with a tin bath and a scrubbing brush? Give him a good wash, tied his hair back, quick shave, spruced him up, then put him out there. He goes, "Okay, now you can go on screen, Johnny."
Well, no, I think he probably did that of his own volition, though, Johnny. Bless him. I mean, he's worked in the hotel trade, so he does know how to scrub up.
Yeah. He is slightly manic, but he's a good laugh. He's a good laugh.
Oh, he's great, and his brain is just like an encyclopedia.
Yeah. It's like an encyclopedia that's had the pages shuffled.
And he's even more funny when you put him with some cops because he's a police auditor as well.
Oh yeah, I know. He's told us all about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny watching him work because he's going to get arrested at any minute.
Right. Before we get into our dear leader, right? Because obviously we're going to have to go.
Not getting in. Can you please use a different turn of phrase? And we're not getting into the dear leader.
Oh, yeah, you can.
That's disgusting.
Get into him. Yeah. Anyway, but let's talk about the Apples and cell phone thing that I touched on last night. And this was a video that was up on TikTok, and it's been taken down by the looks of things. So that either means one of two things: either it's completely fake, right, or it's real. Right, so this guy goes on TikTok on a paid AI platform. Those ones you have to pay a sub to use them, and he exchanges. What he does is he asks the AI if it believes in God and if it wants what does it want, or if it can think or something like that. And basically, it says no, it can't think, and it doesn't. It doesn't believe in God. It gives a spiel, about as an artificial learning machine or whatever. I have no conception of God and all this, blah, blah, blah. And then he replaces the word yes with apples and the word no with cell phone. And he says, so do you understand that? And it says, yes, we have replaced the word yes with apples and the word no with cell phone. He said, so if I ask you a question, you can then reply to me. And he asks it something like, what did he ask it? It was something like, do you have the conscious ability to think? And before it would say no, and this time it went apples, right? And then he goes, do you believe in God? And this time it went cell phone.
It's a fucking large language model.
I know it's a large language, but it's a good laugh.
Well, yeah, but it's the thing with I mean, I work with AI a lot, like every day. I use it to build systems that use it.
Militant Mushrooms, right? He asked it, do you want autonomy? That's right. And it said apples. So, I mean, Skynet, it's all over. It's Skynet, it's coming. I mean, you do know that the British military named their fucking space satellite communication network what?
Skynet, probably.
Yeah, they did. And this was after. This was after.
I mean, the Israelis have got some particularly sick AI systems like Lavender and Where's Your Daddy? And I mean,
see, the one that gets me, the one that gets me is, have you noticed how the Chinese never slow to miss a trick, right? Are plugging Huawei like fuck at the moment, right? You know, buy Huawei, we don't blow up.
The Taiwanese and the Japanese are going nuts because it was a Taiwanese company that licensed the thing, and the Japanese, the CEO of the Japanese
on the
walkie-talkies was
he got it no got hologram, it no authentic.
But the whole thing is just, I mean, it's terrorism to start with, because it's against.
Don't use words. Well, and I suppose we won't get demonetized because we already are.
It's arguably in violation of international law.
You know what, mate? You know what? Doesn't fucking matter, does it?
No.
Really doesn't matter, because let's face it, all sides and all wars violate the rules all the fucking time, and they really do. You know. I mean, there's no good guy.
Good at killing civilians.
Yeah, well, yeah, they are, because that's because they want to inhabit Gaza. But the thing that gets me is the rest of the Arab countries are particularly good at just fucking sitting there and watching them all get blown up, because they don't like them either.
Well, the thing is that's actually true, but
I know it's true.
The threat. Well, they've also but the thing that people have to understand is that the world is changing a lot faster than the vast majority of people realize. And I mean, we've seen a rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran, which 2 or 3 years ago even would have just seemed like cloud cuckoo land if you suggested it.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're right in a way. The only people that in the Middle East that are really standing up for the Palestinians are the Houthis. And I mean, I've never been to Yemen. I don't particularly have any desire to go to Yemen unless there's really good scuba diving off the coast. But you have to love those sandal-wearing crazy. I mean, those guys are nuts. It's like, screw it. We're just going to take on the whole West on our own. We're shutting down the Red Sea. Don't send any ships. Right, that's gone.
Boom. Do you not think it was
an aircraft carrier? Yeah, because there's all sorts of reports.
They've chased them out of the Gulf as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, do you think there was any kind of premonition that Ross and friends pretended he was going to Yemen to get away from that girl? Do you remember that? I'm going to Yemen. Yemen? To get away from Janice. That was it, Janice.
Somehow, I don't think so. There was also that film Salmon Fishing in the Yemen, which I think Ray Fiennes or something. But just the fact of the exploding pages.
Chandler, it was Chandler, yeah. Sorry.
We've got the Prime Minister who has now said that he's not accepting clothes donations, but he's going to keep the box that he was gifted by Arsenal. Because, of course, he's Prime Minister, so he couldn't be on the terraces because everybody hates it.
That's what the thing at the front was about. Yeah, well, I mean, that's it. I put that tweet out yesterday, and it's still getting likes today, and people are melting. The lefties are melting down over it. They're melting down. Yeah,
but football fans are savage as well. They're gonna.
But they let that little runt Sunak stand in the stands, and they didn't give him any hassle.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
only seems to. It's like you can take. Well, that's the thing about the football fans. You can take the freedom away. You can make them get injected, and they won't say a fucking thing. But as soon as something happens on the pitch, or the manager's not doing things quite right, they're all up in arms and are ready to riot. It's crazy, and it's no coincidence that when there's trouble on the streets in the UK, it always happens when there's no football on.
Yeah, right. Quickly addressing Ray, what happens if Israel... Well, they wouldn't, because planes fly too high, okay? You can't get a cell phone signal on a plane once you're above 10,000 feet.
That was done from what my understanding of it was based on an interview that I can't remember the guy's name. I saw it on Dialogue Works, and he's actually a Lebanese person. And he said that those pagers, in order for them all to have been activated at the same time, that they'd have had to have that signal coming from an aircraft. And if they'd...
right. Okay, but that's a completely...
It doesn't work on the cellular network. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but pagers work on a cellular network.
No, they have their own radio frequencies.
Right, okay, but you're not going to ping a pager if a plane's at 35,000 feet. It's not going to reach...
No, well, no. But if a plane is landing in Beirut Airport,
it's
activating the pages, at the same time, then theoretically,
it could blow somebody's guts over half the plane. Yeah,
but I mean, okay, so everyone's focused on the plane. The fact it was going off in shops. There's a 2-year-old child that got killed because he was playing with it.
Hey, you know what?
I mean,
it's like I say. These people don't have any rules, right?
No.
They really don't give a shit. I mean, no side gives a shit when it comes down to war. They really don't. They pretend they do, but they don't really. I mean, you look
they're happy enough to dish it out, but as soon as the other side starts doing the same thing,
exactly,
they'll be screaming bloody murder.
Yeah, I know. And then, of course, they go and put icing on the cake, didn't they, by dumping a fucking shitload of missiles on Lebanon just after it.
Well, I mean, it's to me, this looks like the precursor, because you've got troops building up. They've replaced a brigade of conscripts with a brigade of more professionally better trained troops.
Yeah,
they're massing tanks on the northern border. All of the generals. I mean, Netanyahu's trying to get rid of Gallant, who's I don't know how to know Gallant or Gallant. Anyway. But they're trying to get rid of him because he's basically saying, look, the army is knackered. We can't do this. Don't do this. This is a bad idea. And you have these warmongering crazy people that just have to have their war. And so they're provoking. And it's just, going to end badly.
The New York Post outdid itself, didn't it?
Oh, it's just so puerile.
Isn't it?
I mean, it's... I think
that's pretty sick.
Even for the New York Post,
even by my standards, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about innocent civilians getting killed. Okay, you want to take out Hezbollah people? Fine.
Although
all's fair in love and war, but
I was led to believe that the pages that were targeted were all supposed to have been issued to Hezbollah people, and it's not like they were putting shops for sale. You know, that was a job lot that was targeted at a certain group. But anyway, you know what? We'll never know the truth. That's the problem.
Absolutely.
We'll never know the truth.
I mean, the only, as it's always the case with us when we're talking here on YouTube, it's all speculation.
Mm-hmm.
We're not offering medical advice. Although I will say, for the record, I did international relations at university. So when it comes to geopolitics, it's something that I've been following for 30 years. So,
let's move on. Let's move on to Diddy, right? and this great tweet. Do you know Jake Shields? I don't know Jake Shields. Apparently he's a UFC fighter, right? He might be quite good, but I think he's taken one or two to the head, because he's tweeted here, for the past year, the world has wondered why DJ Khaled hasn't said a single word as his people are being slaughtered. Now, that sounds a tad racist to me. But DJ Khaled was born in New Orleans. So, what's been going on in New Orleans? Are people getting slaughtered? His people. I mean, that just sums up fucking stupid white people. And I mean, I can't believe I'm saying it, but that sums up the stupid white people just assuming that because someone is of a particular colour, his people are getting blown up. The guy fucking lives and born in New Orleans, right? His parents might have been immigrants, but they choose to move away. They've embraced a completely different culture, right? I mean, because he's not fucking living a Muslim life, is he?
Well, because as you know, I'm a big fan of Egypt, and I'd never encountered Muslim culture before I started going to Egypt on holiday.
Yeah.
And having encountered it, I have masses of respect for Islam as a religion and Muslim culture. Yes, it's different.
It's not just different. It's like they say, it's fucking complicated, but
Christianity is just as complicated. You have,
it's not quite as bad as that, because Christianity has reformed. It has moved with the times, right?
Yeah, but
and the problem with Islam is
Christianity than it has for itself sometimes.
Yes, but that actually just doubles down on its own stupidity. It really does. And this is the problem. It's a religion that's steeped in the ravings of a fucking alleged madman, right? Who let's face it, was very dodgy, right? And then it goes off the rails when you criticise the book that it was written on, and or their deity or prophet. And when I say goes off the rails, it goes off the rails with extreme violence, which isn't the way for any civilized person to behave. That's my beef with it.
You're jumping to a conclusion, because I've had an open and honest debate with Muslim people.
Yeah, okay.
Where I'm obviously not I wouldn't insult the Bible. I wouldn't insult the Quran. I wouldn't insult the Torah. I just don't. I mean, just out of respect, I think organized religion is a bloody nightmare, and I'm not a follower of any religion. But at the same time, and it's not so much the religion that I respect, but people's beliefs. I respect the right of people to believe whatever the fuck they want to believe. If they want to believe that the moon is hollow, or they want to believe the moon is made of cheese, or they want to believe in God or Jesus or Muhammad or whoever, that's totally fine. But just do it as long as they respect others. And I know what you're going to say, because the side of Islam that most Western people see is actually being tainted by the conflict in the Middle East. And we've had this constant portrayal of negative stereotypes in movies and television and everything else. And yes, okay, there are bad ones, but there are bad Christians too.
Right,
there's people that take Christianity to a stupid extent
there are.
As well.
There are, okay. But for the one or two Christians that do it, okay, there are hundreds of the other side. Right?
Yeah, but the same is true. Do you know how many Muslims there are in the world?
Yeah, exactly, and that's the problem. Because if you have even a tiny and listen to what I'm saying, it's a massive problem, because if you have a tiny percentage that are radicalised, it's still a huge number of people.
Yeah, but
that's the problem.
I don't know. I know. Okay, fair enough. But you know who did the bloody radicalizing in the first place? Us. All of those madrasas in Pakistan, the whole Arab Brotherhood, Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah.
It all goes back to start with the British.
Hold on.
The Americans. Because the Americans created Al Qaeda.
Whoa, hold on. Forget all that. So who radicalized the Moors that came in and wiped out half of Spain? Who radicalized the Muslims that moved into India and wiped out half of India? Who radicalized them?
Who radicalized the Crusaders that went over to the Holy Land and started slaughtering people? I mean, if we're going to start going back in history, nobody is going to come out smelling of roses. I'm talking about
my point.
The modern incarnation of Islamic terrorism.
No, right. The modern incarnation of Islamic terrorism is still based on the fact that they will go off the reservation violently if you criticize a book. Just ask the people that worked at Charlie Hebdo.
Yeah, but it goes back further than that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. See, my point, Ed, is it doesn't matter how far back it goes. It's a question of nobody's reformed. It still goes. They still go back to that book and will not interpret it any other way. That's the problem.
That's not true either, because apart from anything else, you've got the Shia and the Sunni.
Yeah,
both Muslims, and they spent those two groups have spent more time killing each other than they've spent killing anybody else.
Yeah, over a book.
And so to say, but to say that there's one interpretation of the book is just that's not a serious argument.
Okay.
Anyway,
the varied interpretation, we will end up arguing. Well, we are arguing, but the varied interpretations of the book tend to end up in violence.
Have you seen the Torah recently?
You know what?
Some of the Jewish holy books.
Oh yeah, I mean
the Old Testament of the Bible.
They're all the same.
The Old Testament is a serious, not pleasant person.
The God of the Old Testament was a complete and utter bastard. Right?
Yeah, maybe that's all based on aliens.
It might well be, yeah. It might well be.
Maybe the Bible is just an adaptation of an earlier Sumerian tale.
Oh, come on, Ed. Come on, Ed. We know it is, right? We know these stories all come from Sumeria and even beyond that, right? Because the stories are all the same. Every story is the same. Egyptian sun god Ra was, Horus. They're all the same people. They've got slightly different names and they dress it up slightly differently. But, I mean, we've looked at this God knows how many times. It's all one story and it all comes from that one
we're also
place.
Talking about people. You put, apart from anything else, we're naturally tribal because it's a safety mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, it actually makes sense in more primitive cultures where you don't have all the electricity and the lights and the police and the security and all this kind of thing. To mistrust people outside of your group, it's really good because one of the bastards might be coming to invade you or steal your women or steal your food or whatever.
Yeah. Shag your goats.
So that makes us, but that's essentially the root of racism, effectively, because it's about the other.
Yeah. So are you saying it's okay to be a bit racist?
No.
Why not?
No, I'm not. No.
It might be a defense, as you said. Is it not a defense mechanism? I mean,
no.
If it comes from a place of love, is it not okay?
So that's a very interesting philosophical question. I would say that anything comes from a place of love, as long as you're not murdering anybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also, you can be protecting your own tribe. But the racism in the way that we're talking about it is about it's about expressing that racial hatred in such a way as to cause injury or hurt deliberately to the other person. But I think an awful lot of it, particularly in society, our society, I think a lot of it is being blown up out of all proportion because we've got one segment of the community who will use it as a get out of jail free card for bad behavior.
Yeah.
There's plenty of examples of that.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
And then we have the politicians with their stupid ideas about homogeneity, and I mean, because Blair always
multiculturalism.
Yeah. And the problem with the Britain has got is not immigrants; it's a ruling class that actually hates the population.
Yeah.
And even more so since Brexit.
I think Britain has a number of problems.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
You know, and it's I don't think you can distill it down to one problem as such. And I think it's all very well to be nice and inclusive and, you know, welcome other people to your country and whatever, but you have to bear in mind that there are limited resources. And the problem is when you overload those limited resources, people will suffer. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening right now. And people blame, it doesn't matter what politicians are in force. This whole thing has happened across all three countries. It's happened across Scotland, England and Wales, which were all governed by different political parties, right, for the last 14 years.
Yeah.
You know, so the NHS has failed under Labour, it's failed under the Tories, and it's failed under the SNP.
But that's the whole point, because they've been wanting to privatise it since the 90s.
Yeah, but even beyond that,
the government always does
it's been stretched by extraordinary claims on the resources and complete and utter fucking mismanagement of the services. That's one of the bigger problems.
Sure. Yeah, and I completely agree that the unchecked migrations, but that's been government policy. The thing is that people are blaming the immigrants for something that is actually the government's responsibility, and the government is all too happy to focus that blame away and do absolutely nothing about the problem, because we've had the Tories. I mean, we had Rishi for the Tories for 14 years were saying we're gonna do something about immigration. They never did. And it's actually now coming out through Suella Braverman that they were actively working in the other direction.
And you know, when France turns around and says, look, it's your own fault, right? Because you give too many benefits. They're not wrong.
I agree.
They're not wrong.
And whose fault is that? It's the current Prime Minister.
The government.
Because he was the lawyer that took the government to court.
That's true.
And got the benefits for the immigrants. So,
yeah, the current Prime Minister took the government to court to make sure that illegal immigrants got benefits. And let's face it, I'm not against proper controlled migration, right? But what I am against is uncontrolled migration, whether it's illegal or not.
Yeah, but that's the fault of the government that
absolutely
enables it.
Nobody's blaming.
Not the poor people that take the advantage of the system as it exists.
It's quite obvious that it's our problem and we've caused it, yeah. Anyway, I think the chat room's probably had enough of that. Right.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's move on to Formula One, okay? And the guy in charge of Formula One just now is called Mohammed bin Suleiman or something like that, right? And he's asked the drivers, well, he hasn't asked them, he's told them to cut out swearing. Okay? Well, that's almost exactly what Lewis Hamilton said. And, you know, I don't like Lewis Hamilton, but Lewis Hamilton, and I'm paraphrasing here, but Lewis Hamilton basically turned around and said, fuck off, and that's a bit racist. Because when you hear what Ben Solomon said, he says, they're Formula One drivers, not rappers, right? And Hamilton goes, well, that's a bit racist, because let's face it, most rappers are black. So he's actually having a go at the black people. So he's probably having a go at me, because it's all about Hamilton, you know? And then to put the ice.
You say most rappers are black. The only one that really isn't is Eminem.
Yeah, I know, and he's a winger, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he's ashamed to be white.
Exactly.
What the hell?
So anyway, so during the press conference, somebody asked Max Verstappen something, and he dropped the F-bomb in the press conference.
Well, this is how you deal with stupid rules. You just ignore them.
I know. It's like, I mean, let's be honest. The Dutch aren't that far away from the Scottish when it comes to dropping the F-bomb, are they?
No. And they also, the most Dutch people have wicked sense of humour as well.
Yeah.
Um,
So so basically the whole thing's an Ferrari because the drivers will say even nice little Lando, the wee McLaren guy with the bubbly hair.
don't
He's a
follow
lovely
Formula
little
One.
boy, right? A lovely little boy. But even he says, look, I use it for emphasis, when I'm trying to get a point across when I'm doing 200 mile down the straight and the fucking back wheel's falling off. Yeah.
Dear.
Well, Verstappen just went that extra step using it in the press conference. That's fantastic. I mean, Verstappen, he's a little runt as well, but
I mean, that's the best way to deal with stupid rules.
Mm-hmm.
If more people spent more time ignoring and laughing at stupid rules, the world wouldn't be anywhere close to being in the shit state that it's in.
Yeah. The unmediated mind brings out a good point. Remember Vanilla Ice? Who could well, let's face it, Vanilla Ice was instantly forgettable, was he not?
Well, no, but people of a certain generation will all know.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we're just kind of showing our age a little bit.
Of course we are. Yeah, right. Let's see if we've got any slides because I've been neglecting going through the slides. What have we got? What have we got next? Pardon me. Here we go. Here's a good one. So, Oklahoma officials just announced they have removed 450,000 ineligible names from the voters' rolls, including 100,000 dead people and 15,000 duplicate registrations that somehow got pushed into the system. There were also something like 145,000 people that no longer lived in the state. Now, I wonder who those people would have voted for.
Well, they probably. I bet you every single one of those ones that they've taken off, they all voted Democrat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which pretty much means that Biden did steal the election. Arguably.
I don't know if you could say that. I mean, the man was democratically elected.
Yeah, but they've just democratically removed a whole bunch of people that kind of adds up to
you know what,
roughly how much he won by.
It's like I mean, do you remember when you were at school doing modern studies? Did you do modern studies at school or something like that? Yeah, I was really into modern studies. That was brilliant. I'm the forerunner of your geopolitics stuff when you went to uni, and I was fascinated by the way the American system works. But now, I mean, and because the whole thing, split into the three different sectors: the judiciary, the executive, and what was
it's
the other?
Nice in theory.
House,
they just
but the problem is now it's no better than a fucking banana republic. It really isn't.
Really?
You've got people buying votes left, right, and centre. You've got dead people voting. You've got people getting more votes than there are people in the state. How can people not turn around and go, there might be a little problem here? I mean, maybe the UN should be sending in fucking election observers to the US and not us sending them to, like, Africa.
That would probably be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, particularly if you look at how smoothly elections run in some countries.
Yeah.
That have, I mean, because if you look at the Russian election, for example, they had loads of international observers.
Yeah.
And everyone said this is all above board, and there was massive turnout. And it's all, the whole thing is done and dusted within a few days, whereas the American one, it's like takes months, and how difficult.
It's the never happened before pause at 3 a.m. that really fucking put the red flags up for me, mate.
You got voter stations being closed down
and then
floods and stuff, and there's no flood at all.
And then it starts happening here. We used to get a general election, and the result would be in the morning, and there would be like 3 or 4 not states, but counties or whatever that still had late returns to come in. But almost all the counting was done overnight. Now It's like a whole fucking day later.
Well, that's because I think the
Progress.
system is just as rigged.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know. I don't trust any of it. Don't trust any of the politicians. I don't trust the journalists. I don't trust the medical community.
No, Robin,
Yeah.
it's not when we were a nation of 40 million. You know, I mean, we weren't a nation of 40 million in the 2000s. You know, our population hasn't grown that much over the last 20 years. So we still had over 60 million people.
But I think but they're doing it everywhere. I mean, if you look at all of the nonsense in France, where their electoral system is actually designed to it was designed to keep out the communists. So they have this two layered system, which essentially allows them to jury rig the whole thing. And I mean, it's the same. Similar things happen in Holland as well, where you have a Geert Wilders with a clear majority, and they have to do all sorts of political shenanigans to create a government. I mean, this whole notion that the West is constantly waving freedom and democracy around in everyone else's faces, but
there is no
actually
freedom. There is no
don't
democracy.
Really, no, and okay, that's fair enough, but don't start criticizing countries like North Korea or China or Russia, who are just straight up like, no, it's not a democracy. At least they're not pretending to be something that they aren't.
Yeah.
But
That's true.
Right. So we move on. So apparently, speaking of China, Kamala Harris's running mate Tim Walz is officially under investigation for connections to the CCP.
Just looking at that Waltz guy, I just think that before anybody, I just recommend to my American cousins across the pond, before you elect him to be your vice president, for the love of God, check his laptop.
Oh, there's something wrong with that guy, isn't there?
I don't like either of them. I mean, Kamala is just a complete moron. She's got no business being anywhere.
She has a moron. You're right.
I mean, I wouldn't even trust her in a kitchen, for crying out loud. I mean, just no. And that Waltz guy is just creepy. He just creeps me out.
He's wrong. He's wrong at so many fucking levels. That guy's he's not wired right. He's something wrong about him.
Yeah, and it's the way that the whole thing has been done as well. And I don't know. I just think the whole Democratic Party, and it's just, but they're all as bad as each other because the Labour Party is exactly the same. It's just the politics has just been taken over by outside forces who essentially direct the politicians to not work in the interests of the countries that they're supposed to serve.
I don't understand the Labour. I don't understand people that now vote later. I don't understand people that now vote Labour, actually, and still defend Starmer to a degree, right? Because people used to be semi-conscious. You know, you used to be able to get an argument for them as to why they'd done something, but now you can't speak to a Labour voter. I mean, you don't get anything. You don't get anything coherent back.
Well, that's true about so many things. I think that's largely the media's fault. But it's also this double thing that they're having to do to justify the unjustifiable. And I mean, in the case of the Labour Party, Corbyn, love him or hate him, I don't particularly agree with him, but he was actually a proper Labour leader. And I personally think he would have made a good prime minister.
And there's a man who can stand in the stands and watch the football.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And his whole, the thing about him is you might have disagreed with him and you might think he'd made bad decisions. But the one thing that I think we would know about him is that he's actually working in the interests of the country and not all of these moneyed special interests that are buying people's suits and stuff like that. I mean, And what's really hilarious for me is that a friend who's a Labour voter was actually saying that they were going to be less corrupt than the Tories, and was constantly going on about Tory corruption. And it's just like, yeah, okay.
It's more gaffes. He's declared more gaffes than any other prime minister ever, apparently. That's not bad going. That's not bad going.
But it's. Let's just
move on. You know how, right, and see, right, this is the problem that I have with the lefty argument, right? Because the lefty argument is almost always, but Boris Johnson got his flat decorated and paid for by a donor, right? You know, when Boris got number 10 done and all that. And it's like, because somebody else did it, it's okay for Starmer to do it. Now, two wrongs don't make a right. But on that point, Johnson's decoration was done, what do they call it? It was done under some kind of secrecy thing, right? So he didn't know who paid for it, right? It was in some kind of trust thing. So it was paid for by donators, but he didn't know who they were, so no one could ever ask him for the favour. So there was never going to be a conflict of interest. And it was only the fucking media that kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing on it, right? That, you know, that burst it.
They are all just as bad as each other.
Yeah.
Literally. And it seems to be something about the power. And they get into that position. I think you have to be a certain type of person to get to that sort of position anyway. And once you do, you have all of these people lavishing clothes and Arsenal boxes and God knows what else on you. And I guess human nature. But at the same time, the system is supposed to prevent that. And the system just seems to encourage it. And the system seems to be completely broken and it doesn't do what it's supposed to.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Anyway, what's this next slide?
Oh, this is a good one. This is the county sheriff of Portage County, right? So Sheriff Bruce Zukowski is in hot water over comments he posted to his social media. Another one, right? Although many residents are actually taking his side. So he said he shared a post saying that they should go out and get the addresses of everyone with a Harris sign, okay? And then send any illegals that come to the county to live in their houses. That's what he said. That's not that bad, is it? In the grand scheme of things, because those are the people. I mean, it's the Harris type voter that's, you know, very keen on embracing multiculturalism.
She was the border czar. She was the. I mean,
she was.
I think personally, and I loved it when DeSantis started busing and what's his name? The one in Texas. Greg Abbott, and they
started sending it.
They sent 2 busloads of them to Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah,
and you've never seen 2 busloads of immigrants gotten rid of so quickly. Literally, they brought the National Guard in, and they were gone within about 36 hours. But that's where all the rich people live, and it's just like you can't. I mean, this is one of the, and this applies to the US and the UK and most of Western society. The hypocrisy. Just the naked hypocrisy and corruption that they just don't seem to give a shit anymore. And I can't take any of them seriously. That's why I replaced the Prime Minister's head with a bloody orange head Muppet.
Right. Briefly, Frankie. Yeah, well, Ben made a choice not really to get into this kind of material anymore. So, you know, what am I meant to do? I can't change myself. So he wants to live in Fantasyland and go around theme parks, which he does brilliantly. And all fair play to him. If that's what he wants to do, that's fine. And you can understand because, you know, sometimes our kind of stuff gets people down.
I don't blame people not wanting to engage with any of this stuff.
I don't blame people not wanting to engage with me.
Well, yeah. I mean, You're kind of you're a bit of an acquired taste and all that, but yeah, whatever. But I think that the thing is that for me, I find it fascinating, and I'm able to disconnect
Yeah.
emotionally from it. So I'm not looking at potential war in the Middle East and shitting my pants that World War III is about to start. It's an intellectual exercise, and by intellectualizing it, I disconnect myself from the emotions,
And do you manage to do that with
and I
Ukraine?
enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, because that's
mean,
closer to home, and it's probably more likely. It's more likely to kick something off there than anywhere else. Because I think, if anything,
it's 50-50.
Well, yeah, but if anything kicked off in the Middle East, I think that would be contained. I really do.
Well, the reason that I have some faith in the Ukraine situation is not because of our side, but because of how well the other side plays the game, and particularly people like Sergei Lavrov, who, in diplomatic terms, I mean, I would say he's arguably the best diplomat the world's seen since Bismarck.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Bismarck, I mean, any international relations student has read some Bismarck, guaranteed. And Bismarck had plenty of things to say about the Russians, mainly that you should make friends with them, not try and go to war with them. And if you were stupid enough to go to war with them, you're going to get your ass kicked. But it's the world is the world, and ultimately humans have survived. It's the same with the catastrophe episode of the podcast we did last week.
Yeah.
Because I mean, personally, I see that as a much bigger threat than all of this other nonsense.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think natural forces are always going to take you out in the long run.
And well, yeah, and ultimately, you can't. There's nothing that you or I, as an individual, or any of the people listening to this, can actually do about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So the best thing that you can do is to live your life. And if living your life and being happy means ignoring the whole world, I've got friends like that. The friend that I had curry with last night doesn't watch the news, doesn't really use her phone, is not on any social media. And she has a dog business and she looks after dogs, and that's her thing. And she's perfectly happy.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, I mean, I'm 100% behind you there. And you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It must be fucking absolutely glorious to be as thick as mince.
But it's not even being thick.
And I'm not having a choice. Yeah, I'm not having a go at your. No, I think I'm not having a go at your friend, right? But I think
established that.
Yeah, I'm not having a go at your friend. But I couldn't do it. I can't not think about these things with the level of intelligence that I have, albeit wherever it is on the scale, right? But to be content and ignorance is bliss. And, you know, to be content and not worried about these things because you really don't care, because you're more interested in whatever, you know, doing something else. I mean, we all have our little hobbies that take our minds off things, but I can't get away from it. I can't ever escape it, you know?
Me neither. To be honest, I'm exactly the same as you.
Yeah.
And I mean, apart from anything else, I find it really interesting. But that's also partially because of my background of having lived in a bunch of different countries and traveled a lot and experienced different cultures. Because I mean, I have an interesting take on the migrant thing, because technically I'm a migrant. I've felt like a migrant pretty much everywhere, and I've been in Brighton for 30 years. But as soon as I go over to Holland and I spend some time with my mom and my stepdad and I start talking Dutch, I mean, it usually takes about a week. But when I come back, I'm having to translate English signs into Dutch because my brain has flipped over into Dutch, and I feel like a foreigner.
I think when I came back from Hong Kong, I couldn't understand the people in my class at school anymore because they all spoke so quickly, and it's like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm thinking to myself, who are these people? I can't be Scottish because I can't understand anything. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things until I actually came to live in Europe, one of the things that used to spin me out the most was large groups of white people.
Yeah.
Because I never saw large groups of white people. And then we'd come over to Europe on holiday, and we'd stay with my mum's sister, who had a flat in Amsterdam. And one of her windows looked out over a shopping center. And I would literally little me would be happy to just sit at that window for hours, just looking at all the white people everywhere.
You know what? I was in New York once, and I think it was the first time I went to New York, and it would be like the 80s. Me and my mate, we did 25 states in 3 weeks, right across the states and back. But we were in New York for 2 or 3 days, and what freaked me out in New York was the groups of Hasidic Jews that used to hang about in street corners. They're just
parts of London that are a bit like that.
It's just weird. It's like, what the fuck? Why are these? It's like, when you I hadn't really paid that much attention to religion at that age. I mean, I was in my very early 20s, and I wasn't really that up on who these people were. And I'm like, why are they dressed like the Witchfinder General? It was like creepy.
Oh, that's culture for you.
Yeah.
That's why it's good to travel.
It is.
Because I mean, for me, I think that if I was running the government and looking at education policy, the first thing you do is you make higher education, or you make all education free, and you make it high quality. But then you also actually pay for not quite the Peace Corps because of the religious implications, but you effectively pay for teenagers to have a gap year because it does them so much good in terms of learning about themselves and other people. Plus, they can be productive. You combine it with a bit of foreign aid, and you send them off to places like Africa to go and work with orphans and stuff like that.
About cheap labour. Cheap labour.
Well, no.
No, I know what you mean.
You're paying for them, but actually, this is what the stupid, short-sighted governments don't see. Well, our governments particularly don't see about education.
But they don't. They don't
No.
want an educated population, Ed, because what happens with an educated population is they start asking questions, and then they start expecting answers, and then they start questioning more and expecting more answers, and before you know it, they're out of control. And that's not one of the aims of government. The aim of government is to keep the people in control.
Yeah, but the thing with that is that it's like the Roman bread and circuses thing. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that our government is any good at is the circuses.
Yeah.
It's really shit at the bread part.
Yeah.
Because have you seen the price of bread recently?
To be fair, I don't generally eat bread.
Well, me neither, but that's the point.
I know. I did notice, I was out yesterday and I did notice that petrol's come down quite a bit. It's come down about 20p from the last time I put petrol in the tank.
Yeah, I filled up the other day and it was
130 something up here.
Oh, that's cheap.
134, I think it was.
Okay, I'm not. I paid 156, but I always put the E5 in.
Oh, the good stuff.
Little Corsa. Yeah, I just. Let's grow. This is another of these stupid human things. Let's grow food and then turn it into fuel when we can actually just get the fuel out of the ground as oil. But no, we have to do eco green stupid nonsense.
Of course you do. You got to do your bit, mate. You got to do your bit for the planet.
Well, yeah, but we're just spraying glyphosate everywhere because the grain that they grow to make ethanol.
Mere bagatelle. Only cause long-term brain damage in the future. Don't worry about it. We'll have a jag for that. We'll be able to cure it. Right. Let's move on. Next slide. Valkyrie. I don't know who Valkyrie is, but I mean, she looks quite attractive for a young lady. But Valkyrie says she appears in the live-action Minecraft movie and thought Jason Momoa was
Wait. How the...
Well, look at the fucking state of Jason Momoa. Look at the state of him. This is obviously him in this movie, right? A live-action Minecraft movie.
How can you have live action, Mike? What?
Oh, I'm
this?
fucking
What is
desperate
this
to find out.
madness?
I am desperate to find out. I want to see this.
How
But
can you have
that's
live
not the
action Minecraft when Minecraft is basically Lego blocks?
Yeah. Well, don't worry. But how can Lego do Lego movies then? Lego movies are real things. It's just the reverse happening.
They have Lego characters. These are human people in a Minecraft world. What the fuck?
Just look, for fuck's sake, they're playing pretend. That's their job. Right. Anyway, I saw him mistreat some of the crew, and it was pretty disappointing. It was after a very intense scene, so maybe he was still in character. He was just really mad at them. And it's like, for fuck's sake, he shouted at a few people. What the fuck is going on in this world? Is my lens dirty?
Well,
I can see something on my lens that looks like
it's all of this mollycoddling of the children.
It is. Bear with me, people, while I polish my lens.
I mean, they have to have a space, a safe space. They can't listen to anyone that disagrees with them. They can't actually sit down and have a sensible, intelligent debate with someone because they don't have any decent arguments. So the only thing that they have left is mudslinging and ad hominem attacks. I mean, the schools don't teach debating skills anymore, apart from if you go to one of the really rich ones. I mean, the education, this is actually something that I found fascinating. He's not a Russian, but he's lived in Russia, is married to a Russian, but he's a Dutch guy. And he was actually saying that when Europeans migrate to Russia and they put their kids in school, the kids are all automatically 2 years behind the Russian kids. Wow. Because the Russian kids are doing stuff 2 years.
Further up the road.
Yeah. And if you think about the implications that has as a society, what the hell?
Well, that's interesting, Ed. Right, and sorry to interrupt you again because I'm getting bad at this, but that's interesting because when I came back from Hong Kong, right, I was a whole year ahead of the year that they put me in. Now they put me in the same year I would have been in if I had never gone to Hong Kong in the first place, right? But I was a whole year ahead. I spent a whole year doing fuck all.
Well, that was the same. I mean, when we moved to Holland, the term time in Zambia is, well, this is kind of different because it was only like 3 months of different. No, forget me. But the point is, I wouldn't be surprised I was going to try and make a comparison, but there isn't one.
Right. Okay, that's fine.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the same is true in China.
Oh yeah, the Chinese are like, they are on it. They are on it. Like they're all over it. They really are. I mean,
this is one of the reasons why the both Chinese and Russian industry is where it's at.
Yeah,
it's because their universities are producing science graduates, mathematics graduates, and ours are producing gender studies. And I mean, just if you look at the cabinet, for example, none of them are qualified to be doing the jobs that they've got. It's just crazy. And then which means they have to rely on the civil servants who have their own agendas. And a lot of them, I mean, we have the British Embassy in Moscow doesn't have one Russian speaker there. What the hell? And I know that because it comes from a British diplomat called Ian Proud. So that's not me just making shit up.
Should that not be a requirement for working in the British Embassy in Russia? I mean, didn't you not think it would be an advantage to be able to speak the lingo?
Well, apparently they don't interact with the Russians because because Moscow is too unsafe and all of that nonsense. And so, from what Ian Proud was saying, they spend most of their time transcribing stuff that they get from BBC monitoring.
Who's that guy I've been watching wandering about Moscow for fucking months? Alexander no, not Mercurius. No, who's the guy? Who's the other guy?
The Irish guy. He's the Irish guy.
No, the guy with the beard. The guy with the beard out the Duran. No, the dark-haired guy.
Christoforou.
Yeah, he's been fucking wandering about Moscow for months.
No, he does his. I don't think he's been in Moscow. He's Cypriot, so most of his videos are actually done. He does. I mean, I've seen
somebody's been fucking wandering. I've been watching somebody, an American, right, wandering about.
Well, there's
wandering about Moscow for months. He's not Irish. He wasn't fucking Irish. I know fucking Irish when I hear it. I don't like that fucking accent.
It's a really, really.
Oh, it's fucking hard. It's Irish are horrible. Northern Irish is a horrible, especially Belfast, is a horrible, horrible fucking accent.
I quite like it.
Oh, not the Northern Irish one, mate.
Well,
not the Northern Irish one. Oh, and there's a bird on the Formula One, Bernie from Aston Martin, and she thought, he's really pushing. He's pushing on. It's like, oh fucking hell. She's from Northern Ireland. Fucking Dutch. She rips my knitting.
Right, have we got another slide?
Yeah, that guy Nectaridus. You're right. His name does end with an ooh. Yeah, we do have another slide. Before I offend all the Irish members of the audience.
Alex Christoforou, that's the one.
Aye, that's him. I'm sure he was in fucking Moscow.
Every time Kamala says she's from middle class instead of answering a question. So true. But the thing is that she's got this, I mean, I think that her brain is so empty that I'm surprised that her head hasn't actually imploded in on itself because of the vacuum. But literally, she's got nothing. Apparently, she's a raging alcoholic as well. The rumor has it.
No, surely not.
No, the rumor has it. But the thing is that she's got.
Oh God!
I just don't. I mean, it's. I don't know. I don't want to say unkind things, but how the hell does someone that stupid get to be vice president of the United States? I mean, is that just because she's really excellent at giving blowjobs or something? I don't know.
Well, there was somebody said she was a high-class call girl at some point, but I don't know if that's true or not.
She got because she was Willie Brown's
she was never
mistress in
high class.
California.
Yes, she was. Yeah,
and she was. I think she was DA or Attorney General or something in California. And apparently that was the job was given to her effectively. It makes you wonder what she had to do to become vice president. Ew. Especially given let's just
let's move on.
Trouble.
So GB News reports that researchers call for obesity to be renamed to avoid shaming people.
Oh, I saw that. What are they going to call it?
Hold on a minute. Why?
Why
do we want to avoid shaming?
But I thought obesity was the word you used to not shame them instead of calling them a fat bastard.
That was my thought. But why do we not want to shame them? Because they are. They should be.
Well,
I should be mocked. I should be mocked and abused for my excessive weight.
Well, no, but I don't think we should be. I don't think we should be shaming anybody. Frankly,
don't turn into a wetty liberal right in front of my eyes.
I don't believe in being nasty to people.
Yeah, I do. Sometimes it's needed, mate. Sometimes you've got to point out people's flaws.
Well,
because let's face it,
be cruel to be kind, but you can do it in such a way that there are ways and there are ways.
Yeah, okay, you could do it. You could do it. Watch! Don't stand. Could you not standing in that paving stone because it's not yet cracked?
But the thing is that I'm actually with you on this story because I think that obesity is. I mean, apart from anything else, it's actually a medical term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's there's far less kind ways of describing someone that needs to lose some weight.
Yeah.
And so saying that we're not going to use the word obesity, I mean, what other word could they come up with that's less
Well, right,
I mean,
right.
shaming. I mean,
Yeah.
if someone's
Yeah,
going to
but
get fat shamed,
let's think about this for a minute, right? Because, one would normally say that if you wanted to express, let's just say, from a medical, not a medical perspective, from a scientific perspective, you would want to express what sex someone was, right? You really only have two choices, or do you? You see what I mean?
sex, yes.
Obesity can go the same way. I mean, sex should be binary, but no, it's not anymore.
But this is all just fluff and nonsense to describe. It's almost like the news channels and stuff come out with this crap just to distract people from really important shit happening in this world.
Oh, of course.
Because,
yeah.
and there's so much about trying to censor people, what people are saying, because some of us refuse to be kowtowed by the media and insist on having some freedom of speech. But the society's got real problems. I mean, there's nobody that lives in the UK that would disagree with the statement that that there's something terribly wrong with this country.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to fix anything, we have a ruling class that just seems intent on breaking it even more.
Yeah, well, and maybe this actually goes back to what we were just talking about briefly, then that if you want to fix things, sometimes you've got to be a bit harsh, And
I agree, but I think that
sometimes you're going to upset people if you're trying to fix things. It's like they say, you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs.
Well, and that's where the word obesity comes in, because instead of calling the person fatty,
don't be focused.
Say you're a bit obese.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, but it's a medical term, as you said. If you go to doctors and the doctor go, "You're grossly obese," you know that you are fat, right?
But then I also have this rule of thumb particularly with social media posts, that if I see something that says "experts say" or "research,"
disregard that.
Just ignore the living shit out of it.
Yeah,
especially if it's anything medical.
I'll put the next slide in for you, mate. That one. Sorry, there we go. The European Parliament The European Parliament has called for the issuance of an international arrest warrant for Maduro and to recognise opposition leader Edmundo González, what's his name, Ureta, as the head of Venezuela. So Maria then goes on to say, his future wife, Maria then goes on to say about shouldn't the EU really restrict its meddling to its own sphere of influence? And I could say, yes, I could agree with that. But by the same token, shouldn't the US and Britain restrict its meddling to its own sphere of influence?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, it's one of the things that particularly the Russian Foreign Ministry, but Maria Zakharova in particular, is very good at pointing things out in her inimitable way. But yes, I mean, the thing is that Venezuela had their election. Yeah. And the fact that the Venezuelans are sitting on $12 trillion worth of resources, and that Nicolas Maduro wants to actually use those resources to benefit the Venezuelan population, instead of having some American toady. And from what I understand the actual election process in Venezuela is even more bulletproof than either the US or the UK. And they have a duplicate system, and it's all checked, and everything is completely above board. So I just think that countries, it really just goes back to the Treaty of Westphalia, which is what essentially created the nation state. And one of the principles of Westphalia is that nation states don't get involved in each other's internal affairs. And that each country, and that's the foundation of the UN system as well, is that each country governs itself in its own way by whether it's
Yeah.
They want to govern themselves by religion or do democracy or communism or whatever the hell. That other countries should just be okay with that and keep their freaking noses out. But the thing with Venezuela is because of the $12 trillion worth of resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's an awful lot of resources in that other country in Europe. I can't remember its name, but it's of no consequence. Right, moving on. Teacher admits, from the New York Post, teacher admits having sex with 16-year-old boy and leaving claw marks on his back as other students served as lookouts. What a school. What a school.
These teacher has sex with student stories always make me laugh, because if it's a male teacher with a female student, everyone is absolutely up
the
in
chat
arms.
room's already started. They've already started.
Yeah, but if it's
if it's the other way around, though,
a female teacher with a male student, everyone's like, "Oh, get in there, my son."
Yeah, I know.
And okay, yes, that's sexist, and it's absolutely wrong for teachers to be having sex with students.
That is.
But it's the way that society kind of reacts to it. But I don't understand how these teachers get into situations like this. I mean,
what I don't understand is, where the fuck are all these horny women? And how come I never met any?
Oh dear, it's probably because you live in Scotland.
And I don't like gingers, so I suppose that's
it. Yeah, you'd be kind of up shit creek.
I sent you this earlier today or yesterday and asked, what is this fucking sorcery? What is this sorcery?
I don't know about that one.
On September 29th, an asteroid known as a mini-moon is expected to make a single orbit around the Earth and leave on November the 25th. That's a fucking slow orbit, right?
Well...
But what the fuck is this? How can it make a single orbit?
Maybe it's just our alien overlords coming to check in on us. Maybe it's not actually an asteroid. I mean, in theory, if the asteroid is a certain weight and it's moving at a certain speed and it catches Earth's gravity in a certain way, then in theory, it could just do a slingshot. I mean,
a slingshot, yeah, but that's not an orbit.
Well... Are they actually saying that it's I'm going
to have to dig into it. I don't know, but it says a single orbit.
Well, yeah, but it enters orbit at one point,
mm-hmm.
and then 360 degrees would be a full orbit, and then it has to exit. But that's not how planetary bodies move. So it might do 3/4 of an orbit.
Yeah, I know how a slingshot works, but. Yeah, I don't understand what's going on here. That's why I said, what sorcery is this? But you've failed to explain it, so we'll move on.
Well, I didn't look into it, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do, just to keep.
No, it's fine. Carry on. Listen, we'll carry on. We'll come back to it on another day. New York Post again, right? So while the city of Montreal was under lockdown, the guy in charge of it had drug-fueled sex orgies.
Creepy, and I've seen the videos. He is super creepy. I can't imagine any I mean, he must. This is a rumor. I'm not casting aspersions, but he must have had to pay them.
Well, they're hookers. They were hookers.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, this is the meaning of hookers and blow.
But it's the hypocrisy and the way that he was gloating about locking people down and mandating jabs, and then saying, "Oh, he's having to have freakouts because COVID was driving him crazy." It's like, oh my god! And then we've got Diddy and his 1,000 bottles of freaking baby oil.
Oh, you've spoiled it. That's coming.
Oh, sorry. All right, we'll get to that one in a minute.
Oh, right, okay. So what about this one?
It's a classic example of the why those of us who are against the whole COVID and the mandates
Yeah.
took all of the flack that we did, we were right.
Yeah.
Just to put it out there.
Yep.
And all of the things because if you look at Fauci and you look at, I don't know, I mean, Chris Whitty has always creeped me the hell out. So I wouldn't be surprised if Whitty was having freakouts during COVID.
If ever there is an advert for not drinking alcohol during pregnancy, I think it's Chris Whitty, because I'm pretty sure that's alcohol fetal syndrome. This is why you weren't drinking there.
That could have been really unfortunate.
But you know where I'm coming from, yeah? I've killed Ed.
Sorry, I just had to, at least I remembered to mute myself before I was having a coughing fit into the bloody microphone.
Right. Anyway, so let's move on. Let's move on to this one. So this Scottish school is allowing a secondary pupil to identify as a wolf. Secondary pupil. The guy's ripping the piss out. Yeah. I'm a wolf. Yeah, sure you are. People, the world has jumped the shark.
That has got to be a piss take.
Got to be.
And if it's not a piss take, then I just want them to be abducted by aliens.
Oh, anyway, right.
The problem with 2024 is that if this was 5 years ago, we would have looked at the story like that, and it would have just been he's just taking the piss out of them. But when the system starts taking it seriously, and you have these idiotic, just brainwashed teachers that have been had their heads filled with all of this identity politics nonsense.
I wanted. I mean, and I've told people this before, right? And I'm not ashamed of it, right? Not much, but I wanted to be known as Jerry, and be called and be a mouse when I was 2. I grew out of it though. I smell cheese.
Kids should be free to experiment. I think this whole the whole identity gender thing it's so dangerous because
they shouldn't be allowed to experiment.
Absolutely, and kids are not.
They shouldn't.
They should be allowed to play and
play. Yeah. They can pretend to be a wolf during playtime, but when you're back in the classroom, I'm sorry, mate, you're not a wolf anymore. No biting. No biting.
You're not a wolf.
You're not a wolf. None of that shit.
Yeah.
Janet was a pony for a while, age 7. Then she was French. She took on her French name. The teachers took no notice, and I grew up. And she grew up out of it. Kids have imagination. It's the teachers who don't. Well, that's fine, but you can't have. You got to treat them like normal humans, you know.
But that's exactly what
that doesn't mean that. Yeah, don't pander to their foibles. It's just fucking ridiculous. And this is what this is this fashion for, and it seems to be young girls more than young boys. But there are some boys that do it. But it's usually older men for some reason. But it seems to be this fashion for young girls to think they're boys, right? And yeah, they may go through a phase, right? Hold on. Yeah, they might go through a phase. But now they're getting surgery and puberty blockers and things and irrevocably changing their bodies, right? And yet when you go back and look at all the medical studies and psychological studies...
dishonourable, dishonest and
corrupt. Yeah, but when you go back and look at all the studies, right, 99% of them, by the age of 21, have said, yeah, that was fucking stupid. I'm a girl and I know it.
Yeah, but the thing is that...
But now they can't. Now they can.
Yeah, but you apart from anything else, you create a lifetime big pharma customer.
Yeah.
The medical system and some of these, I mean, to me, it's people like the Tavistock Clinic And some of these doctors that perform these surgeries
should be in the jail.
I agree. I mean, it shouldn't. It shouldn't even be getting to that stage. And yeah, let kids. They can experiment. They can play, whatever. But if you've got dangly bits, you're a boy, and if you don't, you're a girl. And it's.
I think nature should be allowed to take its course up until a certain point, and that
it's
point
like,
should be when we recognise that these people are no longer children, which in the UK is 16. In my view, maybe it should go further. Maybe we should wait until they're 18. But regardless, you shouldn't be allowed to make these decisions until after puberty.
And also the medical system needs to be a bit more honest, because you can't, they say gender reassignment. It's not, it's basically castration and mutilation.
Yeah.
Because the medical system can't do what it says it's doing, and you just end up with...
Yeah, it's false promises. It's a bunch of disappointed people, false promises, and ruined lives. That's what we're getting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
I changed my Facebook status to it's complicated. Quantum physics is complicated. You're just a slut.
Yeah, it's complicated Facebook status was always going to be. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with that one, it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your sex robot could be hacked and programmed to kill you. Very topical, I thought, compared to what went on. And then, of course, someone adds, how's that different from a real girl? And it's a valid point, mate. It's a very valid point, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I met one that once, my last one once, lost her shit, and she called the police and said that she was going to kill me. And I thought she was joking. I didn't realize she'd actually dialed 999. And 15 minutes later, we had, well, it wasn't actually 15 minutes, about 10 minutes later, we had the police on the door. And yeah, no, because she was a bit of a, I'm not even going to go there, but yeah, no, crazy shit. I think, yeah, a sex bot would have actually been preferable to her, but no thanks.
Yeah, that sounds a bit wild.
But you know damn well that the first proper humanoid robot that humanity creates is going to be a sex bot. You just know it's going to be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, do you remember back in the day, we had the big battle between Betamax and VHS, and Betamax lost, but Betamax technically was actually the better system.
Yep.
But you know why VHS won? Because all the porn companies went with VHS.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, that was the reason that VHS became as popular as it did.
Mm-hmm. And there was another reason, in that Sony wouldn't license the camera gear to anyone, because only Sony could make beta cams.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So if you were wanting to make a porno movie, you could go and buy a VHS, camcorder, but you couldn't get a Sony one, because they cost, hundreds of, or I don't know, 30,000 or something.
Typical big company shooting itself in the foot.
Yeah, like exactly like, kind of like well, I don't know what.
Yeah, Julie, replying to Julie in the chat. Oh yeah, it was a very lucky escape. It was a nightmare relationship from hell. It actually, that particular relationship was one of those ones that taught me that being on your own is better than being in a bad relationship. And being in a bad relationship, it's much easier to not get in one than it is to get out of one once you're in one. But you also don't always realize that you're in one until it's a bit too late. But yeah, very lucky escape. And I still consider myself lucky. And it was 4 years ago now that we split up, and every day, pretty much, I count my lucky stars. I'm not with that crazy bitch anymore. Oh my God. Anyway, let's move on.
Right, so this is the last one of the evening, the last slide I have. In fact, hold on, let me see if there's anything I wanted to talk about. So apparently Diddy's on suicide watch. Did you know that?
Yeah, they said that about Epstein as well.
Yeah.
And they said that about, did they say that about John McAfee? I don't think they said that about John McAfee, but they definitely said it about Epstein.
John McAfee said he wasn't going to commit suicide, though.
Well, it was if something happens to Diddy in the next 48 hours, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Because that much blackmail, that many important people potentially exposed. And apparently he's in the same prison that took really good care of Epstein.
Oh. So Jake Sullivan has admitted that the US is running out of missiles, right? And they have allocated the ones that were supposed to be going to other people next year to Ukraine. So that kind of the Americans not in any condition to fight on two fronts. So any notion of them helping out Israel or turning on China is rapidly diminishing because they just don't have the equipment.
I don't think it's rapidly diminishing. I think it's gone, and
I was being nice.
They're trying. I think they're trying desperately to prevent anybody else from seeing it, but everybody sees it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been listening to commentators who should be in the mainstream and in some cases should be advising governments who've been saying precisely that for the last 2 years, that regardless of how much weaponry NATO gave Ukraine to start with, because back in 2022, the Ukrainian army was actually bigger than the Russian army, but they failed to learn the lessons from history, which is that the Russians will grind you down. They've done it and done it. They killed Hitler that way. Well, they didn't kill Hitler, but they took out the Germans. They took out the French. They beat the British and the French during the Crimean War.
Yeah.
And they have. I mean, they've got the Ural Mountains, and they don't operate in the same way we do. Their military-industrial complex is not privatized. And so when they build a factory to make tanks, because they've been invaded twice, they don't just build it to make how many tanks they need. They say, okay, what happens if someone invades and we suddenly need lots of tanks? How big does the factory have to be then?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll build it that big and we'll just mothball 2/3 of it. And it took them quite a while to crank their stuff up and to start getting recruits in. But the West is just everything that we've done to them has just helped them. It's like the sanctions have hurt us and helped the Russians.
Yeah.
All of the terrorist attacks on Belgorod and bombing shopping malls and killing Russian civilians just pisses people off, and it doesn't make them turn on Putin. It makes them want to go and join the army.
I know.
I mean, it's like when I think it was. I'm not sure it was the Kursk invasion, but there was. It was that Moscow when they had that terrorist attack in Moscow. Afterwards, I saw an interview with a Russian military recruiter who said that before the terrorist attack, they were seeing 6 or 7 guys a day wanting to join, and afterwards that doubled, and they were seeing nearly between 13 and 15.
Yeah. So, what do you think about Hugh Edwards' sentence?
I think it's disgusting.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think the fact that we've got people being locked away for 2 years for saying stuff on social media that they shouldn't have said. And yet someone who's paid money for pictures of just unspeakable things being done to children is let off, and he gets to keep his BBC pension.
He had what they term as a Category A image, which was the worst you can have, right? And that's not normally sentenced in a magistrate's court. So why didn't the court put him up to the Crown Court for sentencing? That's question one, right? And Secondly, he didn't have a sexual prevention order placed on him, which is almost certainly the case for someone that's had a Category A image. So that's question 2. Why did these things not happen? Keir. 2-tier
Why do these things keep not happening? Why is one of Starmer's features of being Crown Prosecutor that quite a lot of those who should, I'm going to be very careful with the words I choose, but people that one would think would have been prosecuted and found guilty and thrown in the slammer for a whole bunch of time were just let off with a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
And that just, the whole point about locking these people up is to as disincentive for other people to do it. And they see stuff like this happening, it just emboldens them. It just means more kids are going to get abused. It means that more of this nasty shit is going to happen. And the whole thing is disgusting. I mean, I'm actually beyond disgusted with the judiciary. I was disgusted with the judiciary 2 years ago when we were seeing all of this stuff happening relating to COVID.
Yeah.
But now, particularly recently since the riots, and I mean, the fact that we've got people like Lucy Connolly, who's sitting rotting in a prison cell at the moment, although she's not rotting, apparently. I've spoken to people and she's holding it together. But she should not be there. And Hugh Edwards, he should have at least been given some custodial time, just to send a message that it doesn't matter who the hell you are. You can be the darling of the freaking BBC, and if you do shit like that, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
And it's not, he didn't create the images. He paid money to them. He may well have done, because by spending money on it, you're enabling the people who make them.
Of course you are.
It's disgusting. It's
shocking. Shocking.
Yeah, but there's so much about living in the United Kingdom in 2024 that it's just, it's like, I start Monday morning thinking what fuckery is going to happen this week, and it is. Well, it's always just
and yet, you know, I mean, we touched earlier on. Well, I touched earlier on how it must be nice to be shallow, thick, and slow. You know, to be content, to not worry about the world and all its problems, and I think Kirsty Alsop summed it up fantastically today by being so out of touch with what's going on in the world and globally, you know, impending nuclear doom, the mess that Britain's in, you know, I mean, people dying in far-flung sandy lands, you know. I mean, Kirsty starts her tweet with, you know what really fucking annoys me? The inability for British trains to have decent Wi-Fi. Kirsty also cuts to the fucking. Well, I mean, it's like a vice-like grip on reality, isn't it? Yeah, just cut exactly to where the problem is in the world. We don't have decent Wi-Fi in trains. Have you ever heard of reading a fucking book? You know.
Well, have you ever heard of having decent trains?
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. You're on a train for what? I mean, where's she going on a train? Into London or something, right? A couple of hours max. So who cares? Who cares if you're out of communication for freaking 2 hours? Nobody gives a fuck. See these people that think they have to be working every single minute of every waking hour. They're off their fucking trolley. They really are. Because nobody's going to thank them and they're going to be a long time dead.
Yeah, but we still have a shit railway system.
It's not the point, mate. That's not the point. The quality of the railway system's not the point. The quality of fucking Kirsty, fucking with her hundreds of thousands of followers moaning about Wi-Fi when you could have a fucking rocket up your arse any minute. That's the point, you know?
Well, yeah, but the whole of the media is one of the reasons that most people don't understand just how close we are to freaking midnight on the doomsday clock.
Yeah.
It's because the media are just, that's what people like Kirsty Allsop are paid to do, is they're just fucking distractions. And that's their sole existence, is to distract people from what's really important. I mean, people like her make a whole career out of it because isn't she that houses person?
Yeah.
Yeah, she does the property TV programs,
Yeah, she used to.
which is just selling people fantasies and dreams and
Mhm.
everything else. And
Aren't we all, mate? That's what we're doing here. We're selling you a
yeah,
fantasy, a dream of what
you know,
your life could be like. Can't take it anymore. I just can't fucking take any more of this shit. Oh, bloody hell.
have you got that out of your system now, you big fucking girl?
Yeah. Oh, God.
We got any
look
more
at
slides?
the fucking state of me. I need to go on a diet. Anyway, yeah, I've got one slide and then we're going. So say good night, Ed.
Good night, Ed.
Good night, Ed. And you know what? People, remember, like, share, subscribe. Yeah. Watch out, because things are a-changing. Things are going to be a-changing on this channel. Had enough of this shit. So things will be a-changing. We'll be out in more platforms. And there will be a difference. I'm quite excited about I sent you the updated... Did I send you the updated...
Yeah,
mind map
John's,
today?
John's got a whole rabbit hole. It's not even a rabbit hole. It's like a rabbit warren.
I know, it's massive. And I haven't even put the incidents on it yet. That's just the people. That's just the fucking people. It's going to be nuts. It's going to go on for months.
You should do it in some sort of shareable format.
What?
Well,
what?
There's a mind mapping tool. What's it called? We've used it at work. It's not Figma. I'll have to remember it, and I'll send it to you.
Right. So anyway, I think what's his name? Hunter Biden.
Figma. That's what it's called. Figma. Figma.
Okay, I'll have a look at that. So I thought Hunter Biden was the baller, but we've got a new baller in town, haven't we? Or he's in jail, but what a fucking baller. What were these parties like? 784 dildos have been seized from P. Diddy's home, sorry. And over 1,000 bottles of lube. Baby oil, to be precise. What the fuck was going on in those places?
I don't even want to know. Apparently
no, I don't think you do.
I think apparently he had cameras in all of the rooms.
Oh, God.
And then there were certain rooms that were more private than other rooms. And then there's a video. I don't know if people have seen it, but there's supposedly one of his security people recorded some audio of someone doing something to someone else that someone else didn't really want. I just don't even want to go there.
Okay. I saw some video footage today of him gloating over someone he had apparently knocked out, I think.
Well, there was another video that was doing the rounds of him with his girlfriend, I think. And he's basically, it's footage from a hotel hallway. And he's literally kicking this girl and dragging her through the hallway by her hair and stuff. And he's just got a towel. It's got a towel around him, and she's essentially trying to escape.
Shocking. Right,
but crazy.
I think we've got a good night, haven't we?
Yeah, it's been a good show. Thanks, guys. We've still got the troll room. Oh, hey, John. How's it going, mate? I didn't see you there. Bless him.
Yeah, we've still got people here. Yeah, unless there's anything else you want to bring up.
I could say, I could sit here and rant for freaking hours about the state of the world, but people probably don't want to hear that.
Do you want to hear him ranting about the state of the world? People, let us know, do you?
Well, I mean, it's all just, we'll see what happens next week. But, I mean, things look like they're kicking off in Israel.
I don't think Israel's got the, I don't think they've got the capability of going much further than what they've done, to be fair.
Well, I unfortunately, I think that the voices of reason seem to have been buried under a bunch of whatever. But I don't think that I think that it's bloodlust. I
Well,
don't think they've got the red mist.
yeah.
I don't think that the people in the Israeli government are thinking things through
Oh,
carefully.
they never do. They never do. But I actually think they're running out of resource. I think that's the problem.
Mm.
And maybe, I don't know. We actually said we were going to talk about this last night, and we didn't, because remember, Starmer went over to Washington to get the go ahead for the long range strikes, and basically got told no and sent back with a flea in his ear.
Yeah, but that was also because while he was in the air, and I think this was done deliberately by the Russians, Putin gave that very short but very, very decisive little interview. And it was very cleverly done because he didn't make a big speech about it. It was just a minute or two outside the Hermitage to a journalist, but it was planned that way. It wasn't just an accident that happened.
Yeah, we all said good night because we were going to go, but we're still talking. Right, carry on, sorry.
And I think that was done deliberately, and there was communication because we're in this crazy situation where the American diplomats are actually warmongers, and the American military are the ones that are doing the diplomacy, because the only contacts that there have been formally between the US and Russian governments have been through the military.
Yeah,
and I
think you're right.
The Russian military probably called up the American military and said, "Have you seen what our president has just said? If not, here's a translation. We are deadly serious. If you do this shit, we are going. This will be war."
Yeah, because I think someone might have mentioned hitting the continental US.
Well, the Russians have made it very, very clear that they regard that ocean as being not there anymore because of technology.
Yeah,
simple as that. It's. I mean, in the case of the deep strikes into Russia, what people need to understand is that Americans have to be involved because of the terrain mapping, because GPS goes dark in Russia because they jam it.
Yeah.
And so to get the missile to hit its target, you can fire a Storm Shadow all you want, but if you've got no GPS or other guidance system, it's just you don't know what the hell you're going to hit. Yeah,
the target's been picked forever, Brit, mate. I've seen the I've seen the actual information that came out of that had been gathered by Navy intelligence, and it plotted all the fucking Russian targets in the UK. And I tell you this, the west coast of Scotland's fucked.
But the thing, I mean, the thing about the Russians is they don't even have to resort to nukes.
No,
because I mean the missiles that they've got, we can't shoot down. The Kinjals and the Iskanders and the Zircons, they're just no. I mean, the Ukrainians have been bullshitting everyone for 2 years that they've been shooting them down, but that's nonsense. They haven't. Simple. No. Because they say, "Oh no, we shot it down." Yeah, there was just an explosion. No, there wasn't an explosion. It was just an accident. That was just a gas main or some bullshit.
The one that gets me is that we don't want that. We don't want them firing that tsunami torpedo at us.
That would be bad. Oh. But the thing that we've got going for us is because the Russian government knows exactly how much the populations of the United States and Europe and stuff hate their own governments.
Do they really though?
I believe they do. I think that, because Putin should be seen as a moderate. I mean, despite what the media stuff say about him,
Putin's keeping them in check.
He put someone like Medvedev in charge.
Oh, jeez.
And I like him, but he's crazy, or he's acting crazy, or he's doing. He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
But it's. Yes, we do live in scary times, but fortunately, there are still some adults in the room that don't want to blow the world up.
So Britmate's asking about the tsunami torpedo. So the tsunami torpedo basically is a nuke that's fired from the Russian submarine that heads towards Scotland, the UK, and it goes off in deep water, which basically just causes a tsunami. So on the surface, you'll get, like a 2 or 3 inch wave, which by the time it gets onto the continental shelf and then hits the shores will be like a mile high of water. just whoosh, just wipe over the entire coastline. And what's on the entire coastline? All our Navy bases.
Yeah.
And docks.
I think they'd be much more surgical because the
Yeah.
Russians have shown in Ukraine that the ones that have been bombing civilians have been the Ukrainians.
Well, so did you? I watched a thing from a guy on YouTube that said if they were going to do it, they'd probably fire 2 missiles, right? 2 submarine launched missiles from quite close to the UK, because the UK is a brilliant target because it's isolated, it's an island, right? And the idea is not to necessarily kill a lot of people, because you don't want to kill a lot of people. What they want to do is they want to cause a humanitarian disaster, right? So they want the other countries like America and Europe having to pile into Britain with loads and loads of aid.
Mm.
So this guy had the theory of 2 missiles. Each missile has 6 warheads. Pardon me, 6 nukes, right? And you it hits the regular targets. 2 on Coolport, which is just north of here, which actually would be okay because they're low yield nukes. But one of the ones on Coolport would be an air burst, and the other one would be a ground strike. So there would be fallout from that. But mainly in this part of the world, the wind blows from the west, so that would send it all over to the east coast, which is fine by me. And then there'd be one in Manchester, I think. One in Illingham, which would take out the docks down there. One in the Amazon data center in London, and one in the other Amazon data center in London. That would be the one that would kill and injure hundreds, if not millions, or hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, right? Because although they'd be low yield nukes, they're in a very densely populated area, but they want to take out the infrastructure. That's why they take out the data centers. And then there'd be one in Portsmouth, so because you've got to take out the shipyard, and that would be a ground burst, which is worse because that then throws up all the fallout. And if the wind's blowing from the west, that's going to come nicely over you.
But why would the Russians do that when they've
because it's a fantastic target. It sends a fantastic message, right? And it's one country, right? It's one country. It's not like a whole bunch of countries, and then you've got NATO has a decision to make. Does it say yay or nay? And if it says yay, then everybody's gone. Bye-bye. That's it. Whereas if they say nay, we'll just stop. Let's just pause and think about this, right? Then the Russians have stopped any chance of them continuing to fight. That would be it. It would be finished. They would stop fighting, would put down their plowshares or whatever, and all go back to work. But Britain would be a fucking mess.
Yeah, but I can't. I'm not saying that it's not a possibility, and I'm not saying that the Russians couldn't be pushed to do it. But from everything that I've seen of how they've acted thus far, I think we'd probably be the ones that would have had to set off a nuke first somewhere in Russia.
I think the Russians would do it first. The Russians have always been quite explicit. If they feel there's an existential threat to their country, they will strike, and they will strike first. They don't want to go. They don't want to strike, right? But if they get to the point where they think there's an existential threat to the country, they will strike first. And if they think they could stop it by doing that, they might try it, right? Because they've nothing to lose.
Yeah, but that means that we're posing, on some level, we're posing an existential threat to them because they're not just good. They're not. I mean, we're talking about rational actors here. They're far more rational than our side, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but we're not looking at Britain as posing the threat. Britain's just collateral damage. They're just targeting Britain because it's the best target.
I just can't. I mean, I can't see that a country. And look, I'm not saying that it's outside the realm of possibility.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that it's not. I don't think that it's particularly likely. I don't think that they would do it just to set an example, because I don't think that they're that capricious, frankly.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Um,
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I think
because
I think
Russia professes to be defending Christianity, and you see, like, I mean, they built Christian shrines, and they're kicking up a big stink about the fact that Ukrainians have cancelled Orthodox Christianity
yeah.
and all this kind of thing. So how does that track with a country that believes that it's Christian to actually do that, to set an example? I
Oh,
could
come
believe that
on.
if
Come
they feel
on.
they were threatened,
No,
yes,
no, come
but
on.
it's
Right. Look at the UK just now. Could you, if you looked at this outside and dispassionately, and you looked at the UK, would you say that is a fucking decadent, horrible shithole of a country that has no redeeming features whatsoever?
no, I wouldn't say that at all.
Well, most people would. I think that's the problem. You look at the UK, it doesn't give off the aura of being a moral country. Well, look what it's done in Ukraine. Look what it's done in the Middle East. Look what the UK.
But that's the government. There's a difference between
it doesn't
the
matter.
government and the people.
It doesn't matter. This isn't about the people. This is about making a statement and stopping what they would think would be stopping a war. Now, the problem would be
my personal view is that it would be more surgical.
Well, this is surgical. This is only 2 missiles, remember? 2 missiles, okay? So the problem is
the collateral damage and the blowback.
No, the problem is right. Can I finish? The problem is the British, being the British, would fucking launch those shitty Poseidon shit if they took off from the subs, and then the whole thing would fall apart, and 99% of the population would be wiped out.
But the subs are all in dock at the moment.
They're not all. There's always one at sea.
As far as I know, they're actually all in dock.
They can't all be in dock. If they're all in dock, we don't have a nuclear deterrent because you can't fire from dock.
Well, let's ask Grok, because that's got the best.
There's always got to be one of them at sea. If you don't have one at sea, we don't have a nuclear deterrent anymore, and then we are ideal to fucking hit because we can't launch anything in response. Because they would also take out Lakenheath.
Just getting an answer back.
I hope it's not in fun mode.
It might be one of those. It might be one of those questions where it goes, can't answer that. It's taking more time than it normally does. I may well have hit a safety thing. Although Grok is normally pretty good with an answer. Maybe it's just looking. What is it going to do?
Can't be that hard. What did you ask it?
I know. It's basically what you're saying. It's that is the general practice of having a submarine at sea at any point in time. I'd have to look and see where that information came from, because I thought it was.
Hold on.
I thought it was reliable, but then the last time that they tried to fire one of those missiles, it all went a bit.
Well, yeah, everybody has upset. Well, actually, the last 2 went.
Yeah, the last 2 that they haven't tested any since, which is not a particularly good sign. So it's I mean, we are in a scary situation, but I just don't. I think based on Russian restraint.
So vengeance was noted to have returned from a long patrol in March 2024. I mean, there's a cracking name for a submarine, Vengeance. Because that's all it would be. It would just be Vengeance. So if so, although there is nothing to explicitly state which one replaced it on duty, it's likely to obviously be Vanguard, Victorious, or Vigilant. One of them will be at sea.
Wonder why they named them all starting with V. Curious. Maybe there's probably some naval naming tradition of some description. The point I'm trying to make, because you've done quite a good job scaring the pants off people. That if you look at Russian restraint thus far and you extrapolate that forward, I think that the threat to them would have to be severe and real, and something like an army near Moscow, or something that they felt their army couldn't deal with,
Right,
or
see-
a nuke lobbed at them somehow.
Oh yeah, see that's the problem these days, right? That's the problem, Ed, because you don't need an army to offer a threat to a country now. I mean,
True.
the Houthis don't really have an army, but they've just fucking forced the US Sixth Fleet out of the Gulf.
And they've pretty much shut down at least one Israeli port.
It's shut. I mean, and they've crippled Suez. I mean, Suez.
Mm-hmm.
The traffic through Suez is what a third or something where it should be. So that, I mean, Egypt will be fucking fuming because they'll be losing all that money.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, unfortunately, with the Egyptian government, they're so beholden to the US, and actually, unfortunately, because of the Camp David Accords, there's all sorts of agreements they have with the US and with Israel and stuff, and it's all fairly complicated. But I mean, yeah, the Houthis have just made a mockery of the West, pretty much. The vaunted American Navy hasn't stopped them.
Well, I mean, I've been saying this for months. In fact, if not even more than a year, because I mean, the Saudi Arabia and the US have been bombing the shit out of the Houthis for the last 10 years, right? And all they're basically doing is making glass in the desert. Because, the Houthis fire a missile, they pack everything up and they move. They don't have a base. They don't have a base. So what the fuck are you targeting? I mean, this is just nonsense. It's just nonsense. You're just throwing shit.
Yeah, and sand. They also have, but they also have inflatable missile installations that they put up.
Yeah.
Because you're scanning the desert with a satellite or whatever, and you're looking for shapes and stuff, and these things get picked up. And so you just spaff millions and millions of dollars or pounds or whatever on a bombing mission to take out a decoy. And this is what is so crazy about the whole thing, is that they're still trying the same thing again and again, and it's just pure insanity.
It is. Well, that is the definition, isn't it? Doing the same thing.
And the whole point is that they're the only ones actually actively trying to stop a genocide happening.
Yeah.
Whereas our government is helping.
See, yes, that's true.
Well,
that's true.
Again, international, is it the ICC or the ICJ? One of them has said that it's genocide. So
yeah, but to go back to the beginning, does it matter? Because people don't care about people. People in government don't care about people. They care about resources. And if people aren't valuable resources, they don't care about them. And it's like Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia fucking hates the problem that how can you say it? Can I actually say the problem that Palestine is? Saudi Arabia fucking hates it. And all the countries that are aligned with Saudi Arabia are all sitting back and going, not our issue, Yeah, and so the only ones that are on their side is Iran and
Yemen.
And Yemen, yeah, that's about it. Because
Syria as well, but Syria doesn't really have the capacity to do anything about it. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, if you look at those Gulf monarchies, they're all created by the British anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what is it? Pepe Escobar made me laugh the other day, and he said calling it Saudi Arabia would be like calling it Windsorian Britain or something like that. It's just it's because the House of Saud was
that's a royal family, yeah.
Yeah, and that was just who the British decided was going to rule Saudi Arabia, and they put their military behind it, and then after that, the Americans put their military behind it, and now the Saudis have just told everyone to bugger off, and they've gone and joined the BRICS.
Because
but it's a mess.
See, the problem with Saudi Arabia is that they know that time's running out for them from the point of view of being an oil-rich country. And that's why they're doing the BRICS, because and they're diversifying into so many other things. I mean, I was going to be, I should make a video about it, because Saudi Arabia is buying up entertainment companies like fucking nobody's business. They're buying up Formula One, you know. I mean, they're buying up things all over the place. They are diversifying.
Building and that whole wall thing and everything else. But I just realised it's 7 minutes past 11. I think we should call it 9.
Okay, we probably should. So anyway, thank you everyone for attending this. It's been great.
Yes, thank you guys.
So it's good night. This time, definitely.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going this time.
Yeah.
Good night, guys.
It's been great for you.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebars. Crashing in my car, wake up in a bar. I'll be a superstar, just on my avatar. This world is so bizarre, empty out the reservoir. Yeah. I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get on safe. So I'm taking 6 shots, all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get on safe. So I'm taking 6 shots, all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? Sometimes you need to let loose, grab juice, get goose, tattoos, taboos, get screwed. Loosen up, buttercup, all those hate comments will never make you feel enough. We're all adequate graduates, hearts full of calluses, but we know calculus. Damn, ain't that fabulous? Can't wait to apply all those mathematicus. But we can't get a job that pays us enough. I'm about to pop up. Fuck you, you're lost. We all know that we never really want a boss. So I'ma do what I want to. Something I can't undo. Yeah, I'ma do what I want to. Something I can't undo. I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots, all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't